Sorry, that's going to be in your.
All right, here we are, episode 35 of the Everday Bow Hunter podcast. Here's my brother Dan, also known as Vladimir Zelensky. And I'm Mike Manley. Sorry, guys, we're joking around here. Dan's looking at the camera and saying he looks like Zelensky.
I was like, from a distance, I was like, in this green, I'm like, oh my God, I look like Zelensky.
I'm not negotiating with you.
Good stuff.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, it's been a couple weeks since the last podcast.
Yeah.
Life gets in the way. Dan and I are kind of celebrating because
Ben Fittich 15.
I'm one of those federal workers that lost his job and suddenly got his job back. So we're celebrating 2 weeks of downtime. I'm heading into week 3 of time off, so I'm not complaining.
He's getting a lot done.
I'm getting a lot done. My whole basement's been redone here, and I'm getting stuff together. I'm over here building arrows and getting new fletchings on, and it's
it's pretty cool. Like to go through that process. You know what I mean? What did I say? The fulfillment of that. Like I said it earlier to you, like you're going to feel more fulfilled building your own arrows, going through all that. Where me, I call up Sirius. Hey, can you build me a 6-pack arrow? You know what I mean? Like go through all that. But.
Yeah, it's one of the things that, in fact, I have videos out about how to go about finding your arrow weight and stuff and best. And I'm actually working on a better way to tell everyday bow hunters.
Yeah.
A simple way of looking at your arrow weight.
It's ironic. Everyday bow hunters.
Yes.
Sorry.
And, I've been looking at, what is the easiest way to tell somebody that doesn't want to get into the math, doesn't care about any of that. They just want to know the best weight, for their setup. And I looked at it, by using the bows of today, all are kind of in that same speed range, right? And if you shoot a 50-pound bow, you're going to have one type of result with that. And if you shoot a 60-pound, another, and a 70-pound, and 80,
et cetera, yeah.
Right. And so if you can use your draw weight and just kind of
figure it out
from there.
Yeah.
So I've been working on a kind of easy process for that. And then if you have a shorter draw length or a slower bow, you can just adjust a couple grains here and there.
You losing your job, I guess that put off the chronograph for a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'm going to get a chronograph still, but I just did put that video out about 7 hunting jackets, cold weather hunting jackets.
That's a really good video. It's very in depth, and I got a lot out of it. And I have a docking station in my van at work. And I'm driving around, and like it's amazing what you retain when you're not really paying attention, but you are. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it's like this subliminal message. It's like subliminal message of hunting clothes getting into the back of your brain. It's pretty cool.
Well, I learned a lot from doing that video and going through. I have a whiteboard sitting right here. It has all the numbers and stuff that I read off through that video. But going through the process of testing the jackets and seeing basically what I said before, the insulation amount matters, and it really played out to, based on the amount of insulation it has, is how that jacket's going to perform for the most part. Everybody has different things, like the Fanatic has a Berber fleece on it, and, and that Numa High Point does, and then other ones don't. And then you have that Huntworth that just has that, waterproof and windproof liner on it. And so you got all these different things, but the one constant is that insulation. And the insulation is what really tells the story. And so that's why I said to you the other day, we were talking about First Light putting out these these winter jackets for hunting, and
cost versus,
and the $450 core that they have doesn't even have, it uses Primaloft gold, but it's still not even equivalent to what the Sitka Fanatic has, and they're selling that at $460, and they're trying to sell this at $450. And then their thermic is using the Primaloft gold that the Ozio has, and they have 10 grams less in that than the Ozio.
Yeah.
So you look at those prices and you say, Jesus, what is making you you know,
what's making it so? What's driving the price?
Is it the design? Is the design costing you a lot of money because you're really getting down in the weeds in the design?
Name?
Or is it just the name and you're trying to take advantage of that?
Yeah.
And, you know, make more money. And understand it's a seasonal thing and they only sell to hunters. But
and you know me, like I'm like the thrift store shopper. So no, I mean, like I'm thrifty like that. Like it deters me from buying First Light. I say that. I sit here and say that, but I buy Sitka. But I always get it at a discount. I'll never pay full price for it. You know what I mean? Just because I refuse to pay full price for anything. It's just how I am.
I wouldn't buy most of this stuff, but I get a lot of it for free because of doing this
testing
and stuff.
Yeah.
And that helps out. And then, of course, you know, you, the listeners, help out too when you contribute to that. But anyway, it just now has made me, I guess, pessimistic looking at the cost of some things when you can find things like that Numa High Point and you can look at that Huntworth and they're charging a fraction of the price,
right?
And you're getting a warmer jacket out of it.
Yeah.
So that's
on that, you know, for me, I had back to that metric crap ton of overtime, and like my whole philosophy was, you know, this year I'm going to spend the money and put it into base layer and this and that, and I ended up buying a new gun instead. Like, it's amazing like how that happens. Just happened, like sitting at a dog show talking to my wife, and we're getting ready to hit our peak season here. Nationals a couple weeks away out in Lima, Ohio, so we're going to be traveling out there for that. And you know, here is that April, near the end of April. But talking to the wife, and I want, you know, she's going to be going hitting some shows pretty far away within Pennsylvania by herself, and I wanted her. She has her concealed carry. I wanted her to feel more comfortable. The pistol she has is a little bulky and big, and she was never really comfortable with it, so she wouldn't carry, you know. But I want her to. She's going to be alone, you know. And everybody knows right now it's a crazy freaking world out there right now. So I ended up buying the small little PC SIG P365, and boy, that little thing's nice. It's nice. It's a nice little pistol.
Amazing
SIG
how
makes
small
it good.
that thing is.
It's, I mean, in that little subcompact, it's a double stack, so it's 10+1. So 11 rounds in that little tiny little pistol. It's amazing.
That's amazing, yeah.
But got a good deal on it. And now I got more overtime. And now I'm like tossed between, do I get this merino wool base layer set where it's a top and bottom, or do I get this Fanatic hoodie that I've been wanting for a long time to replace the Traverse hoodie? You know, because I ended up buying that, you know, we all know from past episodes, I bought that Traverse hoodie and it was way heavier than I wanted. I wanted something to kind of span early into mid and heading into late. You know what I mean?
Kind of like the, what is it for Huntworth? The Huntworth Shelton.
Shelton, yeah.
That's a nice hoodie. I like that hoodie.
Yeah. Love that thing.
The midweight, you know what's really comparable to the Fanatic is in weight and how it feels and stuff, and they were probably going for that, is that Ozio midweight hoodie. They have it's literally just called the Ozio midweight hoodie, but it is very, very close to that in as far as the weight and how it's set up.
And this is where Sitka did this weird again. Is their Fanatic line is their heaviest stuff, but then they have this Fanatic hoodie, and it's deceiving, and that's where I got kind of mixed up with what was it again? Traverse, sorry,
because the Traverse pants are very light.
Well, I think, okay, so I saw a pair of Traverse pants the other day, and they're like that coat now. I think they just changed it. So the pants I have are from 2019.
So they're heavy.
Now they moved them to, I think, I could be totally wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Hey, comment on this and let me know what you know. So I'm more versed on it. I'm tired of freaking Googling it. There's only so much Google time I want. But
the thing I think Sitka is the weakest on is their pants. Like they don't have, there's no real good like mid pant. You know, they have the Stratus.
I'll tell you what, the Traverse pants I have, I love them. They're like my favorite pair of pants. They're so light though. They're like,
they need something
kind
of like a little bit heavier, but not as heavy as the Stratus pants. You know what I mean? I think if you do have this, just my biggest issue with the Stratus pants was that they don't have any kind of zip vents on them.
And that's what's great about the Stratus bibs that I have, because you can vent out in that. Yeah. You're the big vent guy. And we know.
Hey, you got to be able to dump.
Didn't you say you weren't real happy with their merino?
Sitka.
Yeah.
The Sitka is very, very, I don't know why. It just, not like, I say this all the time, not all merino is created equal.
Yeah.
Right? Because the best merino that I have come across that's also expensive is from First Light. We just talked about First Light. They're the 350 bottoms that I have, base layer bottoms that I have from them, are some of the warmest things I have.
They're the kiln?
It's the furnace.
Okay.
Furnace and
kiln furnace.
And I have their new rugged wool OZ, which is a 400 weight, which is a combination, of nylon, spandex, and merino together. So it's great. But that minus 33 stuff I have is really good. But you can feel the weight.
That minus 33 stuff's pretty salty.
Yeah, but you can feel the weight in it, and it's warm. I had the 330 merino from Sitka. Their core merino is supposed to be real tough and great and everything, and it's a beautiful sweatshirt basically, but it's I don't feel like it's even close to as warm as those other things that I just talked about.
And that's where I kind of was questioning. I'm like, I'm really kind of tossed between 200 and 260. 260, I think it's too warm, and I wanted something to span more early season to because that's when the bulk of the hunting is. You're only really getting into the cold the last week and a half, 2 weeks of archery season. Yeah. Do you get what I mean?
Yep.
So I was like, I really don't need the heavy hitter merino wool. I kind of want something to get me through the majority of the season. Does that make sense now?
Well, get yourself some mesh and then throw that 200 over top of it. So anyway, after this podcast is over, I have a 250 merino from Sitka before the core stuff came out. Just a regular merino they had, and you can throw it on and see how it compares to what you're looking for. So that's the thing about base layers. Those first two layers I think are the most critical, because you have that one that's going to wick your sweat away, and that's your really thin layer, right? But then that next one is that insulating layer that its main job is to take that water from that first layer that sweat, and wick it into that and get it off of your body.
Right.
Because when it's on your body, it's going to be cold, and then it's in a position where the heat from your body and the warmth of whatever jacket you have over top of that is going to dry it out.
So the problem with me is I'm not much into 3-layer. I'm a base and then move on to the next, the final layer. I'm a minimalist when it comes to that. And
you can find a lot more warmth out of doing this.
No, I get it. I trust me, I've looked into it, but then you're talking thousands of dollars worth.
Well, then you need to spend that, Dan. I'm tired of it. Come on, shit or get off the pot.
Well,
it can get costly, but really,
thrifty.
Yeah, well, I'm just seeing all this stuff now, and it's nice. Yeah. It's nice to
getting to see how it works.
Yeah. Once you see how it works, it just can make a difference. We were talking with our buddy Jevin this week. We were texting back and forth. He was talking about wanting to get a Saskatoon.
Yeah. Dude, you know me. I'm a fanboy of Huntworth because of the price point and all the sales that they have. Everything's on sale all the time, and that's what I love about them is, they're showing at a price point. You're never going to buy it at that price point. If you do, you're a sucker, because it's like if you just
don't
be
take
patient
it at full
and
price.
wait. Yeah. If you just be patient and wait, I mean, they get up 40-50% off sales a lot, not like once a year. It's like 3, 4, 5 times a year that they're running different sales. I mean,
we get in here I think June's a great time to buy their winter stuff. A lot of their stuff goes on sale. Yeah. But
we got into that subject too, into all that group text really kind of fired off when we started talking about the difference between thumb release, and he's like, hey, did you buy that on Temu?
Yeah.
Mike's like, yeah, I did. He's like, okay, which one was it? He tells him which one it was, and he's like, I kind of want to try it. And I was like, okay, pros and cons time. I'm like, hey man, It's going to change your draw length. It's going to do this. It's that. Like for me, what I did is years back, I wanted to try it. So I went and I bought a Carter, which was a real expensive one at the time. And I did it, got rid of my kisser button, and I was so lost. I didn't realize how regimented I was on muscle memory.
Muscle memory is everything, yeah.
Like you'd be surprised how much muscle memory plays into this. So without that anchor point of that kisser button being in the corner of my mouth, now I'm back like this, and I couldn't ever get my head in right and find my anchor point consistency with it. So I went back to the kisser button, and like when I used, the wrist and trigger release or index finger release, when I pull back, my thumb, I was telling you, goes right into my ear. Like I pull back, kisser button, doom, boom, boom. Like it's that and instantly I was shooting tack driving again. And I was like, you know what? This is just not for me. As much as I love the idea of it, being able to click it onto your string in your hands, you don't have that banging around or making a noise.
When I'm in the tree with this, if you're just listening, I have we were talking about a 4-finger release, right? That's a thumb trigger versus a finger trigger you have with a wrist strap.
Yeah, you're traditional. So, I shouldn't say.
So I usually am in the tree and I have it hanging off my knock loop in the tree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then all I have to do is grab it and draw when I'm in the tree. Now I had a True Fire, one of these that I got for like $80 or whatever, that I had since 2014, and that's what I lost this past year.
So there's that.
So
if it's on your wrist,
it has.
Now you can get them with them on your wrist too.
They have a place to put a dummy cord on, which I didn't use, like a dummy. But anyway, so the story is I got on Temu.
Yeah, right.
And there was a bunch of these on there, and I bought 2. Both were like $10, right? So I get the that's actually a hinge release.
Oh yeah, it is.
That's a hinge release. He has a hinge release, that I have a 3-finger hinge release in here too. But anyway, the one that I have been using is from they call it Top Archery. It is just a knockoff, but that thing is identical to my True Fire, and I've been using it to shoot my bow, my new bow that I have. I just bought the PSC Decree. If you didn't catch the last episode,
you should get the $300-400 Ultra View one.
Yeah, I don't need that. So but that's the whole point, right? Is I'm using that Top Archery one, and it's not been a problem at all. It's worked just like my other one. It's identical to the True Fire one. That now, if you went and bought the True Fire one, it would cost you $100. Those hinge releases are nice, but they're loud when you.
So this is more to surprise you.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. That takes away. Yeah.
There's a lot of pros that that are out there on the circuit.
That's what they're using.
They use the hinge release.
Yeah, and I've been seeing a lot of good things about the hinge release.
Yeah, you have to find one that's not noisy, and this one is extremely
very noisy.
Yeah. But anyway, that's like you said. If you change from a wrist release that's a pointer finger release versus a thumb release, that's going to affect your draw length. It's going to affect your anchor points, which is huge. So you've got to make sure your anchors are set and everything. And if you do change, you have to understand that it's a whole different deal, and it can take a while to get that muscle memory.
Yeah, because you got to relearn. It's like learning how to shoot all over again. And that's what it was for me. And it was so frustrating. And you know me, I'm extremely impatient. I want instant results about everything. I'm one of the most impatient people you'll ever meet. And like I want it now. And I didn't give it enough time. And I gave up, sold the thing on eBay, lost, $30-40 on the deal, whatever. And I was okay with it because I just wanted to go right back to that wrist. As soon as I did, got the kisser button remounted on, went Extreme Archery, got everything dialed up, and bam, I was right back in that pocket. And I was like, oh, what a relief. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
that does play with your psyche.
Anchor points are a lot different with this. Like I said, when I draw this, between my knuckles here, I put it on my jawbone when I draw, and then my nose, I push it, I take it down, and it touches the string.
Right.
So I want to feel that string right out here in the corner of my mouth, just as if I had a kisser button on it, but it's close to it anyway. But it's one thing I've learned with me is that there's a lot of times that when I first started using this, I was pressing the string into my face, and that was pushing the arrow.
Yeah.
And so I had to get the string off my face, and now I have a much better anchor point where I'm not pushing the string into my face so much and getting that. It just kind of barely touching me now when I shoot.
So next is I got to get to extreme archery. I got my sight on, but I need to go get my second and third axis adjusted, dialed in, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. When I'm looking, it's looking like my housing is sitting a little cockeyed. You know what I mean? So I want to get them to put it on the bow vise, you know, where they can really level it out and do the right thing. So when I took that sight that I have off, I had the Apex Covert Pro, and it looks like a scope sight. Yeah.
Right, because of my eye problem I have from TBI. But anyway, so anyway, when I put that on the PSE from the Matthews, it was cocked, and I don't know why it was, because I didn't do anything to touch that.
Maybe angle of brace or
just something how it mounted to the. But anyway, at Lancaster Archery, when they tuned me up, and shout out to Lancaster Archery, because when you do a bow there, man, they get you set up. They get you on the range. You shoot through paper. Make sure you're shooting bullet holes through the paper. Thing, paper tuning, everything, and that is so critical. You know, if you haven't paper tuned at all and don't know if your arrows are flying perfectly straight or if they're fishtailing or whatever, don't know if your rest is mounted jacked up, and you're out there and you're shooting on the range and you're blaming your arrows, you're blaming yourself, and here it's your tuning setup.
Remember we were out of Camp Freedom, and me, you, and Muscle were shooting. His arrows are flying out, and they're hitting the target, and we were looking at each other, and we're like, "You shouldn't be hunting with that bow right now." Like
his arrows are doing whoop-de-doos into the target. Just
his arrow, they were like, I was like, they were fishtailing, and I'm like, Andy, like, I think you're done here, like, you know. And he was like, "Yeah, what do you think this is, guys?" And it was his rest. His rest was all jacked up. And
if you're a beginner and you're listening to this and you're saying, "What the hell are you talking about?" Talking about paper tuning is basically getting like you're like 5-6 feet in front of a sheet of paper on the range where the target's behind it.
And you're just shooting through it.
And you can see there if it's flying straight through.
It's how your fletchings are.
Your fletchings are, If they're
tearing the paper.
Yep, how they tearing the paper.
So if it's a little tear to the right, a little tear, like they can see that, and that's how that arrow's coming out of that bow. And then they can make a cam. It could be a cam adjustment. It could be off. It could be
a lot of times it's just your rest.
Yeah, and it's different things like that. And it's just some small little. You'd be amazed. Okay, so like when I was saying about my bow sight, the second and third axis. The third axis is more important for guys that are doing elevated shots, because if your housing's off like that, and you're doing an elevated shot or even more of a greater distance shot, and I actually just learned something. I think it was MFJJ, actually. I forget who it was. Anyway, he was talking about, it wasn't MFJJ, but anyway. So depend where you're going to set your sight. So when your sight comes with different brackets on it for mounting on your brace, right? And this guy was like, "Hey, I see all these guys, and professionals do it a lot too, but I see all these guys and they're putting their sight way out as far as they can." He's like, truthfully, you don't want to do that. You actually want it as close as you possibly can within your vision's rights. Yeah, because the farther out you are, the more long distance on a distance shot, it's going to tail on you one way or the other. That is going to be a greater reaction versus when the sight's in close, and sighted in that way. And I was like, oh shit. I go up and I grab my bow and I'm looking and I'm like, son of a bitch, I mounted that thing way out, and I thought, because it looks better with my new stabilizer being out. Like, not thinking about logistically, I'm thinking about, this bow looks sexy. You know what I mean? Like, stupid shit. And I'm like, all right, I got to move it back. So I moved it back, and that's where I noticed my third axis being off. When I pulled that thing in and I drew back and had an arrow in, I'm like, oh, that's off. Like, something ain't right. I could see it with the naked eye. I mean, I got it lined up perfect with my arrow, all that stuff. But really, I just want my second axis dialed in a little bit better. I could see something's off that I'm not doing right, and I want them to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
with that third axis,
when they can
I
put
really
it on
want
there, when they can put it on the
bow vise.
The vise.
Yeah.
Lost it for a second. They can put it on the vise and do that.
Bow clamp. Yeah, and then they can really level it out and do it the right way. And that's what's nice is when you do get a rest that has that third axis, you're not stuck with not having a third axis, and you just got to deal with it.
Yeah.
Here you can adjust it and get right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of important.
Yeah, very important.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, now that my bow's tuned, I'm able to. It's time for me to get out in the range and really dial it in and get some arrows downrange.
Hey, and then I'm going to go Friday. Today's Wednesday. Friday, I'm going to Extreme Archery and have them do that. Okay. Now I got to get that new sight, but sight it in. I didn't know how to word that. Glenn Fittich. So if you want Sunday, we can go to my company's land up on the hill there and go shoot if you want. I have my 3D target, that pig I got, and I got Dad to bring home my actual block target.
Oh, so he was
Plus, there's targets up there.
That's why he was talking about it being muddy.
Yeah, I left it under the porch, and man.
But I mean, right now is the time to get your bow
dialed in.
We say this last year. It's one of those. What is it? What we call it? Beginner mistakes you don't want to make.
Yeah,
is waiting till the last minute to get your bow.
Now's the time.
Now's the time to get out there.
Yeah.
I mean, shoot year round, really, but we all want a little break after the season. A little break.
Yeah, but if you're going to make adjustments or changes on your bow, now's the time to do it. That way you have all season.
For me, I got a brand new bow. I got to get muscle memory built up into this bow. To this bow,
yeah.
Yes. It is.
Where it sits in your hands, different, everything.
Well, and here's another thing, Dan. I mean, we had talked about this. This bow has the ability to be at a 90% let off, which is incredible. So, or 80%. And I decided to stick with the 90. It's set at 90% now. So it is just the smoothest drawing.
You're going to lose speed, though.
Bow,
and you're okay with that. You're sacrificing.
I sat there and shot on the with my arrows at the Lancaster Archery over their chronograph, and I was shooting 260 and with that arrow. So I'm happy with that.
260 with that arrow. That's a heavy arrow.
And I'm gonna drop that 25 greens, as I said.
So you should be probably around 265, 270.
I should be right in the window where I want.
Yeah.
And I was talking about this when I talked about that, finding your arrow weight with your draw weight type deal.
Yeah.
And it's got me in that window. So it's something that I've said, you know what? I want to be more comfortable in the stand.
That's everything.
I'm only shooting 30 yards or less. I have a plenty heavy enough arrow because the arrow is going to be 480 grains. It's plenty heavy enough.
Yeah,
for a white-tailed deer.
Like I get wanting to max out and getting the max performance out of the bow, but at the end of the day,
I also want my arrows.
With?
I want my arrows to fly flat. And I want to.
Yeah. No, it makes sense to me.
The biggest thing here is, though, this is where I really started thinking about. And if you're listening to this, you've probably been in that same situation too. Think about it. We talk about these heavy coats. We're now in cold weather, right? You got a heavier coat on. And that bow does not draw back as nicely when it's freezing cold.
Well, your muscles.
You're stiff from being cold and you're sitting there.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to draw that bow quiet and everything because deer coming up. Try to do it slow. The lower draw weight is going to help me be more comfortable. My shoulder's not the best anyway.
Yeah.
So I wasn't even shooting a regular bow for years because of my shoulder. Right. I just got it back. It's still not the best. But anyway, I just said, you know what? I'm going to be comfortable in the stand, and we'll see how it goes this season.
So our dad taught me very, very 17 years ago, whatever it was, 18 years ago now, when I first started, he's like, man, you buddy, you get into them later seasons. He's like, you're up in your tree stand, you're cold. He goes, go ahead and pull that bow back. He goes, you ain't getting it back. He goes, so what I do is get it on your D-loop. He goes, I sit there and just kind of pull on it like that. And it's warming your muscle up. So when a deer does come, you can get her back. And I was like, oh, yeah. He's a hell of an archer. So I listened to him for years about that, you know.
But one of the things that I do every single time I get up in the tree, once it gets light,
do a practice pull.
As I do a practice pull on my bow. You know, sometimes two, especially if the first one didn't come out very good. You know, they just look around, look at your possible target locations where you think the deer might come.
Yeah.
Let her go down, gets that rust off that bow as far as, you know, it's been sitting there not getting drawn, and now you draw it out and you feel more comfortable instead of drawing it for the first time. And
yeah, I mean, I was always pretty good about that because I had a climber, and, you know, you're getting up the tree, you're kind of really working them exact muscles, really, you know, climbing up the tree. So I never really did that a whole lot. I would just do it in case something was something in my way. But the longer you sit there, that's when you got to start really kind of working that muscle a little bit. Especially you with the screwed up shoulder, you got to keep that nice and lubed up.
I just throw some lube on it. That was good. Yeah. So anyway, that's, you know, a lot of that bow prep stuff. You know, I'm going to trim my arrows. My arrows last year were 505, and I was just saying I'm going to trim them down to go from a 150 grain broadhead to a 125.
Yep.
Affect my FOC a little bit, but still be pretty good. And but 480 is still a damn good arrow. Good weight, especially there's people out there killing deer with, you know, 375s.
Yeah,
you know.
I'm like me, 365 or 465.
But that's not bad.
No,
that's not a bad arrow at all. I think honestly, if you're shooting at 60 pounds, that you should be shooting anywhere from 450 to 475, 480 anyway.
Yeah.
You know, in that range. So to maximize your bow, you're maxing. You know, like I said before, don't, you know, why shoot? You know, you can't shoot a 22 round out of your 9mm over there, right?
Right.
Nor would you want to. You have a 9mm. Yeah. Right. You want that 9mm power, or even if you had a 45, you want that 45, right? Why take your expensive bow and sights and all that money you put in your bow, and then put, you know, a 350 grain arrow in there, and you're not maxing out.
Right.
You're not taking advantage of what your bow has to offer.
Right. Yeah.
You know, put the arrow in there that's meant for that bow, and you're going to maximize your results.
And that's kind of like with my shoulder, that I have that tore muscle there. My bow is a max 60 draw. Like I can't go up to 70.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So mine's maxed out. So it's actually probably closer to like 62 because it's maxed. But I'm getting the peak performance out of that bow. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's at its limit. It's peak performance. So like that's why I'm more comfortable than I'm not trying to throw shade. Don't take that the wrong way. Like you have a bow that can go up to 80 and you're going to shoot at 60. That's like the bottom end of the performance of what that bow's capable of. You know what I mean? Yep. But I mean, like you said, you're sacrificing for comfort. Yes. And that's what that bow gives you is the ability to do all that. Yep. Like mine, my let off is 85 is my max. I have it down to 80, trying to get as much as I possibly can out because of the 465 grain arrow. Yep.
And I don't know why. I'm still trying to figure it out, but I was shooting 26.5 inches out of draw length.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Out of the Matthews.
This is crazy.
Out of the Matthews. Right now, my bow, my decree is set at 27.5.
Which is my draw length.
Which,
when you took my bow last year.
If you're new to the podcast, I had a Bear Alaskan that blew up on me.
Yeah.
And Dan lent me his bow. Well, usually you just can't pick up somebody else's bow. And Dan's bow was set at 27.5. I shot that bow perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
My Matthews, I've just had problems with. I've Matthews left 29.5. I have not been happy with it, and it's going up for sale here momentarily.
Anybody wants it at his price, make a comment. We'll ship it to you.
Yeah, if you're interested, let me know. But that I just haven't been happy with it. And when the cams come over, it makes a thud. And one big difference. First thing I drew that Expedition.
Yeah.
The Expedition, the 2025 Expedition is their bows. Well, the 31.5 they have. So my God, that thing is beautiful.
If you think about it, you were drawing that at the Sportsman Show.
Yeah.
Okay. How noisy is that place? You're not hearing those little intricacies there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you're deaf too.
But you can feel it.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
When that comes over, you can feel it.
Yeah.
And with that, the smoothness of it it's an instant thing. As soon as you draw that bow compared to that lift, the decree versus the lift, it's like the Mach 30, the PSE Mach 30, which is their carbon bow, which is beautiful. The draw on that is not as good as the decree. The decree's draw, I think, is better. As
carbon versus aluminum.
As far as the smoothness, I think sometimes that weight of the bow helps a little bit.
And the riser's so different.
Well, the Mach 30 is 30 inches, and the decree is 31 and a half.
Oh, well, there, yeah. So that's a big difference. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
It's more an optimized bow setup for bow hunting, really. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants the shorter bow, but honestly, like I've at 29 and a half. But honestly, I think when you get a little bit more ATA length on it, that you get a better shooting bow.
Right, I get what you're saying.
Because I had that 35 for years. Yeah. That Hoyt Vector Turbo I had was a 35-inch bow.
I didn't realize that was that long axle.
Oh yeah, 35.
Okay. Wow.
That thing shot like a champ.
Yeah, yeah.
So sometimes you got to look at that too, because anytime you go to the shorter bow, it's not going to be as forgiving. And I think that's where I.
What was your bear? No, you don't remember, do you?
It's a 32.
32. Okay.
It's a 32. Yeah. So, but yeah, so 31 and a half. It's a good, it's a good hunting bow. Yeah. Seems pretty nice so far. We'll see how it plays out this season and through the time shooting it here and prepping for the season. Going to get out here. Obviously, Dan and I are talking about going out and shooting this weekend. I might need to get up there and go to Extreme Archery here in the next couple of days and throw a few, trying to dial it in a little bit.
That's what's nice about that 3D range. Indoor 3D range, especially this time of year. Yes, weather's so unpredictable.
Yeah. We have a place called Extreme Archery. If you long time listener to the podcast, you've heard us talk about it. If you're new, Extreme Archery in York, Pennsylvania, they have this indoor set of ranges. It's like 3 different ranges.
Yeah, yeah.
And one is basically like your targets to go in and like work on zeroing your stuff, and then you have 2 others that are a bunch of 3D targets of different animals and stuff. And you can go shoot the course. You can shoot one animal all you want, but they have ranges from, I think it's 10 yards out to
30. I think
30 yards. Yeah.
I had a cool experience there. We showed up one time. A guy was shooting a recurve, and I was standing behind him watching him shoot it, and I started asking him a couple questions, and he shoots it. And I asked him another couple questions about it and how it's done and this and that. And finally, he just looks at me. He's like, "Hey, man, do you want to shoot this thing?" I'm like, Yeah, I do. First one I was way off. And he's like, no, you got to lead it. It's totally different. You don't think of it as a compound bow. You got to lead the arrow. Just him, the way that he explained leading the arrow and you're looking down it, it's different, And I shot and I hit pretty close to bullseye. So I got to shoot 3 arrows out of it. And who does that? Just some random, and that's the archery world and the archery community. And that's what's cool about, it's like a brotherhood that we all have here. Mm-hmm. But you show up at an archery shop, some random guys just shooting a recurve bow, and let's just some random guy shoot his bow. That was a really cool experience, and I loved it. And
recurve, you can trust a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean,
it's hard to break a recurve.
Yeah, you're not really you're pulling back until your tension with your arm length. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's different.
Yeah. I mean, they do have the bowstring set to their draw length.
Right.
So it can be real different if you're way off. Right. If you're close, you can be fine. But I wouldn't let anybody just grab my bow and shoot it at the archer. You, I would, because we're same.
And you're my brother, and we know each other since. Yeah. But I thought that was really cool. It was a great experience, and it was like my 3rd time ever in their shop. It's a way to make you feel comfortable. Yeah. And he was a regular there. You could tell he shoots, there a lot. And just, I thought that was the coolest thing. And it kind of made me feel good about the archery community. And it makes you realize, hey, we're in a brotherhood here. You know what I mean? This is cool. Yeah.
So, I have a bunch of trail cameras that need to get into the woods, and looking at, a bunch of the stuff that we learned this past season.
Yeah.
Wanting to get out there and get in the woods this time of year before it starts getting green to still take advantage of some of that sign from last year.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I kind of need to I need to placate my scouting on the possibility of drought. if this makes any sense to you, what we experienced
made total sense this past season.
Yeah, that's what I'm going at. Like,
I think that's why Jevin made out the way he did.
Because he caught on to it before any of us did, and he played that.
He was sitting on water.
He was sitting on water where we were not. We were doing the polar opposite. And in a drought, they're going to be closer to water. All the little tributaries were all dried up. Yeah, and I brought it up several times. He was either listening to me or had it in his head already. But at any rate, I am going to scout both. You know what I mean? I'm going to go scout the normal spots, top of the mountain, this, that, the other. But I'll be a son of a gun. I'm scouting those little water, them little creeks, the little ones that last in a drought. The ones that are bigger, not so much in a drought, but they're tiny in a drought. You know what I mean? You know where I'm talking about. Like stuff like that.
Now, I do believe, Dan, that out there, top of the mountain where Jevin likes out there, and we call this area Promised Land, just because it's kind of far out away from where you see a lot of hunters. And I truly believe that there's some big deer out there that have all that area to themselves and have no pressure on them. And we need to get out there more and do more scouting out there.
Yeah, I agree. So
this, when you have an area that nobody wants to go to because it's so far out, and Dan and I both got e-bikes now, and we can get out to a far location without having to
land far, far away.
Yeah. And we've seen other hunters go that way. Nobody actually out there when we've been hunting, though.
Right.
I have yet to see another hunter out there.
Me neither, or human footprints. Like, you know what I mean? It's like e-bike footprint, e-bike prints.
We've seen,
maybe a Sasquatch or two.
We've seen deer. I had actually, my wife, son, and I were out there.
Bear.
And we actually had a black bear get out on the trail in front of us and was actually running down the trail in front of us as we're behind it on our e-bikes, which is cool. And then my wife yelled at me because she got me a camera to mount on my e-bike and I had it off.
You know what, off subject, kind of on subject, Promised Land. Is it the Promised Land or is it the Promised Land? I think it's the Promised Land. Or is it the Promised Land?
I would say promised.
Oh, shit. Sorry, Dad. I think it's the Promised Land, not the Promised Land. I don't know now.
Oh, no, that's a text string. It's going to happen.
Shit.
Our old man named it, so we gotta see what it is. But that's just like our camp is Windy Valley Camp versus
Camp Windy Valley.
Camp Windy Valley.
Yeah.
The family's kind of backwards. We have some hickish in our bloodline.
It's hick is northern version of redneck. So like redneck is southern. North, us Yankees, we're hicks.
Yeah.
That's funny.
We got some hick blood. But
yeah, I forget what I was going to say. It was there and then I lost it. Scotch got me.
You said the Promised Land.
Oh yeah.
But this area is just, it's so nice out there when you go out there, because Dan will tell you, I don't like other hunters near me. I don't want other hunters around me. I want solitude. I want to feel like I'm the only person out there.
He likes being out there with the coyotes and and the weird stuff.
Just give me the peace and quiet of out there by myself. I don't want anybody around me. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
And I don't disagree with your thought process there, but I'm so used to years of hunting up there around other hunters, and I've learned that you could utilize their hunting pressure to help you.
You can.
That's a reality.
And I've seen it happen.
Yeah, it's happened to you, and you've gotten frustrated.
Yeah.
And here there's deer right underneath you. That they pushed them into you. It's you can play it, or you can get mad.
Now I have gotten more of the mindset lately where if other hunters are coming in late into the woods after you're already there, which always happens because there's a lot of hunters that don't want to come into the woods in the dark. They come in after it gets light, and I do that. Because when are the deer moving?
First light.
The deer are moving during that little bit, either just before it gets light or in that twilight area between sunrise and early before morning nautical twilight or whatever they call it. And that little piece there is when they like to move. And that's actually when deer can see the best with their type of vision. Mm-hmm. And if you're not in your tree already and you're moving, you're probably moving deer.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and you never know it. And you never know it.
Because you're making too much noise to hear them moving.
Yeah. And they can, I go back to that deer study for Penn State when they were talking about the fact that they'd have GPS collared deer and be sitting in a spot so long that they think it's dead. And they go out, they send people out to check the deer out, and they sit there and they can see that GPS before that person takes 10 steps into the woods out of the parking area. The deer's gone, and that deer's a good distance away.
Yeah,
so it shows how powerful. One, you underestimate their ability to hear, underestimate their ability to smell. Those distances they can smell, but they said that even when the winds were against them, that the deer were up and moving. So it's one of those things that, I always say I want to get to the area where I expect the deer to be long before they are. Yeah. And sometimes you have to get up really early for that to do that. Heck, there's that spot that I talked about where this deer has been bedding on this point right next to the road, right? And, and the only way I'm going to get to his bed before he does is to get there at 3 a.m. And I don't know if I want to do it, but it's something I'd have to do to beat him there.
Pack a midnight lunch and go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then you got to worry about the winds and the thermals and everything else. So he's in almost a bulletproof spot, but I want to get into that.
That's your challenge.
It is a challenge.
Is that your goal for this year?
It's my gray ghost.
That's your gray ghost.
Yeah. So, but yes, this deer has been in this area here, and the rubs that I was tracking on him last year were incredible. But was it the last day of archery, or was it rifle?
It was rifle season.
Rifle.
Yeah.
So the last day of rifle season, I'm getting set up I'm at my car, I'm getting my clothes on, and I'm zipping up, and I have my headlamp on. And I hear something because it's real crunchy out. It's super cold. And out in front of me on the road walks this buck, the one I'm talking about. Pretty 100% sure. 99.9% sure it's this deer because it's the spot. And he's just stops.
He's picking on trees like that.
It's crazy. This thing's monster. He loves the pines too. But he goes across, and then he walks in the woods, and he just keeps looking back at me with my headlamp. You can see his eyes reflecting back. And I was just like, this son of a bitch is just in here, and he is tough to get.
He's smart.
He's moving. Look when he was moving back to go to his bed.
I wish we could kind of show how. So it's terrain. So if you would be looking at it sideways, it's top of the mountain. It comes down, bench comes down, and it flattens out, and it drops off to the road. He's up on that little bench,
that drop off to the road is probably it's probably I don't know 50 yards up.
Vertical though.
Vertical.
Yeah.
And it's like a little, I want to say
ledge.
Cliff.
Yeah,
it's a ledge there.
Yeah.
Right, and he is up there.
But there's like a little ledge that he can run the distance of or break the top. It's just what a tough spot.
He has so many escape routes that's even funny, and that's why getting in there getting back to his bedroom
before he comes up from water. Yeah. You gotta you almost gotta be in his bedroom, sleeping in his bed, and just be like, ah, sucker,
gotcha. He's been in there a while, and just want to make sure that I try to get up in there and get him this year. But
I think your best bet's opening weekend.
Probably is.
Yeah, true story.
Yeah. But I got to get in there early, and I don't know the night before if everybody's drinking.
You know what we should do is probably we should spring gobbler. We should probably turkey hunt that spot just to scout it.
Yeah, I knew I wanted.
But then you might bust them out of there and ruin your opportunity.
There's people that turkey hunt through there all the time.
Yeah, you're right.
I think this spot I wanted to put a cell trail camera in there so bad, but there's no coverage there. It just ticks me off. And I'm afraid if I do put like a regular trail camera in there that I am going to stink up the area and push him out of there.
Because you're going to be going back to get the card and this and that.
Yeah. So it's better off. I know he's there. I know his bed's there because I just scouted it.
Yep.
And said, you know what? I'll leave it alone and go back there and hunt it.
I'm going to be Sunday after the Saturday. Well, I might do it Saturday afternoon after we spring gobbler hunt. Got to be out by noon, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to be putting my cell cam back out somewhere. I should have never took it out. The batteries were full. I should have just left it,
That spot.
Yep. I should have just left it there because it would have gave me an idea and I would have known if turkey were coming through for spring gobbler. It's just
so kind of a funny story. I had a company send me, it's called Bevigor, send me these lithium batteries.
Oh yeah.
Right. For a trail camera. So I back in December, end of December, beginning of January, I put it in a trail camera. I put it out in my backyard, right? So getting videos of I put it on video mode and wanted it to really work it to see how the batteries held up. Well, my neighbor comes over to me here 2 weeks ago and says, hey, I had some kids. He has young kids, so kids mess with other kids and don't know that they're messing with parents. So they're throwing rocks at the side of my neighbor's house and put some holes in the siding and stuff. So he's like, hey, until I get a camera, can I borrow, do you have any trail cameras or whatever you can borrow? And I say, hey,
I do.
Take this one. Well, this thing, because he has his dog out in the yard, walking out there all the time and stuff, and the kids out there all the time, that thing has been cranking the videos, cranking. And once you know, those batteries are still over 75% in that camera.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, something that was kind of an afterthought to me, that I was just like, okay.
Yeah. Now it's not an afterthought. Now you're intrigued.
Now I'm like, oh, these batteries are actually doing. But the other thing is that when I had that Exodus outdoor gear camera, the rival camera, when I had that on video mode up there in the mountain, that thing burned up the batteries in 2 weeks when I put it on video mode. If you remember that, burn up my camera. This thing has been on video mode in that Moultrie edge, and it's not an edge 2. It's an edge.
My Moultrie, the batteries. I had videos. I was requesting videos all the time. That was a whole season, Mike. Spring gobbler till the end of rifle season is when I pulled that. Okay, and I was still at like 85% battery in life in that. My Moultrie.
This thing is still going strong, and I'm getting like 20 videos a day because it's so much. They're mornings and afternoons and evening stuff.
So you guys didn't catch the bad guys yet?
Well, I think I did catch the bad guys, but I think the bad guys were his friends, and his friends. Actually, they were in the yard when they went away because they went away for a weekend. He said, "We're going away for the weekend, and I'm worried about my house." So anyway, with the camera out there on video mode, I get these kids in the yard, right? So I send my son Trevor out, and he goes one way, I go another way around the house, and these kids are working their way up in between our property lines, up and through our development here, and they come back, and I jump them in the front of the house because they cut between I'm just like, so what are you guys doing? And they're just like, oh, and I'm like, what are you doing about the back of this house? You don't need to be in between these houses. Well, we're just cutting through. Where are you cutting through to? I didn't see you cut through anywhere except walking around a big circle here. You don't need to be back through people's properties. And they were like, so I said, well, I think, I talked to my neighbor then, and I said, I think I got your culprits. Sometimes friends can be your worst enemies, and they probably aren't thinking about
that,
doing damage to your house. They're probably just wanting to mess with their friend. Right. So anyway, yada, 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 suddenly there's been nothing happening ever since that camera's been out there. So, and I talked to those kids.
The great deterrence.
It's still out there in their yard, which I'm going to get it back from them. So
but you're not getting as many videos now, so.
No, it's still a lot because the buddies are hanging out there, but only there. Only there when the sons are there. So, I don't know what happened there or why they were throwing rocks or if it was them or if I, whatever. But either way, the camera's been a deterrent.
Good. So hey, moving on. Are we doing a giveaway?
So we talked about the giveaway, and so I'm going to send this month. We're going to send a free T-shirt to the Bow Troll, right? And next month we're going to be giving away a Moultrie Edge 2 camera.
And that's going to be on the randomizer.
Randomizer. I'm going to send out links and stuff here. Once this goes out, I'm going to be sending out, do a video about it specifically for this monthly giveaway. That way you can sign up, and then you'll have the ability to each month. The longer you're in the giveaway, actually, the way this is set up, the higher your chances are of winning.
Okay.
So the more giveaway street cred you have, the more
I'm going to enter it.
So
I'm totally teasing.
watch, Dan wins the camera. Dan won the camera, guys. Sorry.
No, sorry. I'm not.
Sorry. But yeah, so
I didn't know how it would work, because if it was like, does it run off of likes? Does it run off of whatever? You know, and I was like, I always hit like. What if I get picked? And I'm like, and then you're going to have to do it all over again. And
yeah, but YouTube doesn't allow you to artificially run contests to inflate lights. So So, but it does let you, like, you know, have people, if you visit a web page or you watch a video or something, then you get more entries. So it's kind of cool like that.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah.
So, but anyway, Bow Troll, watch this. Go ahead and contact. I'm going to try to contact you separately because I have you on Instagram anyway, and we're going to get your size and your address and stuff, and we're going to send you out a T-shirt. Sent out to Mark. I still haven't gotten confirmation from Mark if he got his T-shirt or not, but I'm going through a different outfit now. I'm not going through the same outfit. Spring used to be called Teespring, and now it's just Spring. They've lost my business because of their
guy from
service.
work. A guy from work ordered one. He's like, I just want to. I want to support your brother, man. That's what he did for the country. He's awesome. Blah blah blah. I like your podcast. He's like, I've been watching every episode, and he's like, I bought a T-shirt. And I was like, oh, when? He's like, oh, like 3 weeks ago. Still no confirmation on it, no shipping, no tracking, no nothing on it.
Yeah, that's not me. I don't want people to be
deterred from. Why bother? One of them deals.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna. I'm going through custom ink. I'm having a bunch of shirts made, and then I'll just have some in stock here.
And then ship them out. Yeah,
myself.
That's the best way to do it.
I want people to get it fast. I don't want people to wait on
it. Like, poor Mark. Like he's like, I got a free shirt. Well, where's that?
most unreliable thing. I ordered my dad a sweatshirt back in December and don't have it. So it's
oh geez,
it's terrible. Yeah. So I'm done with them. But anyway.
Yeah.
Pretty good podcast here.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
So
congratulations on getting back to work, man. I'm pretty pumped for you there.
They gave me a bunch of time off. I have mannequins now in my basement.
You don't want to come down here in the dark. It's a little creepy. It's like camo everywhere and mannequins sitting there with camo and what is it? Balaclavas, baklava, or however.
Dan says it looks like Cabela's in here. I have all this stuff.
It's pretty cool
stuff hanging over here. So anyway, hey, once again, thank you very much for listening.
Yep.
Thank you very much for watching.
Bow Troll, thanks, buddy.
Yep. And until the next episode, guys, we will see you later.
Have a good one.
Hey, this is Mike once again. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you want even more content from the Everyday Bow Hunter, I invite you to go over to everydaybowhunter.com or archeryhunting.com. It's the same website for the Everyday Bow Hunter. In addition, if you haven't subscribed, go to our YouTube channel. We have a lot more than the podcast there. Got more video coming every day, a lot more content. In addition, if you go over on your podcast channels, if you're already there, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever, please give us a 5-star review. Give us a follow. We really appreciate it. In addition, if you see an Everyday Bow Hunter shirt like this, go ahead, go to the website, go to YouTube, click on it, buy one of our shirts. Every little bit helps. We're not sponsored by anybody. In addition, in our descriptions and our show notes, we highlight products that we use and buy that we love. Now, every time you click on one of those links, we get a small commission. It really helps us out. Like I said, we're not sponsored by anyone. You're our sponsor. So with your support, we can make this channel even better. I appreciate it. And until then, I will see you next time.